Good morning and welcome to the square tessellation demonstration. In this video we are going to create a tessellation based on a square. We are going to rearrange the area, and if we follow the steps properly we will have a nice repeatable pattern in Adobe Illustrator. So to start off we need Adobe Illustrator, the rectangle tool, and we're going to make a square and lock it. So let's give that a go. I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'll go ahead and give it a name. Last name, Square Tessellation. And this one is the basic method. I'm going to save it onto the desktop of my computer. Now I need to press the letter M to get the rectangle tool. I'm going to hold down the Shift key as I click and drag a square rectangle. It doesn't really matter what size you make because we are going to scale down our pattern after we make it. I'll go ahead and make mine close to 3 inches. And I'm going to go to Object, Lock, Selection. Control 2 is your keyboard shortcut. And that will ensure that as we make our pattern, we're not going to accidentally take our template, or our little square guide, out of being perfectly square. Now you can make the sides of your template any way you like. I am going to use the pencil tool by pressing the letter N. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and give myself a different color. Go ahead and choose something that will be easy to see, like red. And I don't want to have a fill color, so I'm going to choose white with a red slash for my fill. Now whatever line I create for the left half of the square, I can, let's see, click and draw. Whatever I create, as long as I touch the corners, it will work for our purposes. Now I've made a nice line. I need to copy and paste it and have a copy here on the other side. So Control C, Control V. I will move this up and align it. Okay. Now whatever we cut away from this side, we will add to the opposite side, and whatever we cut away from this side, we add to the opposite side. It does look like I need to nudge it back so that my corners are touching. All right. Now I'm going to make the other side. You could use the pen tool if you wanted. The one caveat is that if you use the pen tool, sometimes it will want to connect to your pre-existing line. So I'm not a big fan of that, so I like to stick with the pencil tool, because the pencil tool doesn't want to attach the new path you're going to draw to the existing path that you have. Now I got to avoid going too far radically up and down here in the beginning, so I'm just going to do kind of a meandering line here. I'm going to make this one green. The reason I'm choosing green is that when the time comes, we are going to create, let me Alt click and drag and make a copy of this. If I hold Shift, it'll go all the way up. So I can see I've got a little bit of a problem here in this corner, in that my lines are going to touch. So I'm going to make a revision to the green line. I will delete the bottom copy, and the first copy I'm going to select it with the direct selection arrow tool, and I will just rearrange so that I have a nice cooperative path, so that way we're not going to overlap anywhere. Alright, so copy paste, move that into place. Now ideally what you're seeing here is 2 green lines, 2 red lines. You can use any colors you want, but the reason that we have the separate colors is that once we go to join these, not group, but join them, we're going to create a totally new shape. So we've created our lines. Now we have to use the lasso tool. We're going to join the corners. And so when you see that happen, the lasso tool is a lot like the direct selection arrow. It will select just the points that you circle rather than their entire lines. But once we tell these to join, I can lasso and right click and I will choose join. It's going to make them the same color. Now they've all become green, so green runs all the way to there. If I go a step further and give like a yellow fill color, you can see the yellow fill color now is going from this point all the way around to this point and giving me a straight line of connection for the fill. So I have 2 more corners that I need to lasso, and then Object, path, join. Control J is your keyboard shortcut. Alright, so now we've got two more corners. Right click, join, right click, and join. Now you can see the fill color went away. That's really neither here nor there. I was only putting a fill color in there so that you could see how it worked. Now that we have this shape, this can be made into a pattern. So I need 4 pieces just like this. I'm going to hold the Alt key down, and we'll drag one down, we'll drag one up, and then one opposite. So each corner needs to have a different set of fill and strokes. In fact, you may not even need a stroke, but it's nice to have. So I'm going to press the letter I, and I'm going to capture those properties. It gives me the eyedropper. So I have this one and this one, which are burgundy, this one and this one, which are gold. The current stroke colors are green. I don't know if I'll keep that, but hey, no big deal for now. We can always change it later. I'm going to move it into place. Give it a little nudgy. All right. Move this one into place. Okay, and I'll move this one into place. And I should have a pretty nice, repeatable pattern. Now if I want to have black as my stroke color, thicker or thinner, that's kind of up to you guys. I like to keep it pretty thin actually. I'm going to go ahead and select these 4 pieces with my black selection arrow. Click and drag a box to select them. Right click and group them. At this point I'm going to go ahead and save. Control S. Okay? That way if I crash I won't lose my work in progress. But this can be tiled repeatedly. So there's 2 ways to do this. One, it's very tedious and it requires you to Alt, click and drag over and over again to make the repeating pattern. And this works. Okay, you can hold the Shift key, you can Alt, click and drag. You can even use our old friend transform again, which we did in OpArt. That will do the same transformation. Control D, Control D. Okay. I could make a group of the groups, but that's not really necessary. If I Alt, click and drag again, I can pretty rapidly fill my page, but it's not perfect. There's these little gaps all over the place. And those, as a digital art teacher, drive me up the wall. So what I'm going to do is keep my original group of 4, delete the remainder, and I'm going to drag this group of 4 into my swatch window. What's nice about this is it will create a pattern out of my group. So now I'm going to move and create a rectangle large enough to fill my entire page. That rectangle will be given not a gradient, not one of the pre-existing patterns from the program, but my pattern. So my pattern right now has some gaps. If I zoom in on it, I can see where the pieces will fit together, but I need to adjust it so that it's a seamless pattern. I'm going to double click my swatch, and I am going to select my group. I need all 4 pieces. I can do Control A to select all, Control G to group it, and I'm just going to Alt, click and drag to change the size until I make it big enough that there's no gaps. Whoop. And I messed up a little bit there. I may need to stretch this just a skosh from top to bottom to ensure that it is resizing the way I want. I may need it to be just a little bit taller. Perfect. Alright, so I've got a nice repeatable pattern. I'm going to press Done. And now my swatch has updated, and that pattern swatch is being repeated across my tessellation. Now I am ready to save, and I am ready to export as a JPEG, and I'll be ready then to turn things in. CMYK, max quality, we'll go high resolution, 300 pixels per inch. This is the basic square tessellation.